closed the door and listened to the story. My husband wanted to marry his friend's ex-wife temporarily so she could go back to her husband. And I was not happy about this at all. But my husband's friend Eric was the one who brought his wife, Sophia, to us himself, and both of them were crying bitterly. He wanted to return to her after divorcing her, and he thought this was the only solution. I knew that if that girl slept with my husband, Aaron, she would fall for him and fall in love with him. That she was forced to do it. That girl spent 3 nights with my husband, and on the fourth day, I was divorced instead of her. Aaron, I'm telling you to not get involved in their problem. I'm truly terrified that a day will come when we regret this deeply and find ourselves stuck in a situation where we wouldn't envy our own fate. I try to make my husband understand. I look at him, and he had a strange expression on his face and his eyes. There was a mixture of helplessness and intense anger at the same time. Chloe, what exactly do you want from me? He asked. Do you mean I should just abandon my friend in his darkest hour? You know how much good he's done for me, how many favors I owe him, the great job I have today, this beautiful home, and our smooth, comfortable life. Eric had a massive hand in all of it. If it didn't been for him standing up for me to his brother-in-law back then, I might still be wandering around and drifting from place to place in the streets. How can I turn my back on a friend like that when he's in deep trouble? I gently placed my hand over his and said in a soft, calm voice, Aaron, I acknowledge all of that. I believe it completely and I know Eric has done so much for you. We should definitely be grateful to him. But not every favor or kindness should be repaid by putting our own marriage on the line and risking our whole life together. This is a private personal matter between the two of them, and they should resolve it themselves. As soon as he heard my words, his face darkened and his features twisted with heavy displeasure. I never expected such selfishness from you, never, he said in a bitter, harsh tone. If you can't help my best friend with this simple favor, then from today on, there will be nothing left between us except the bare level of husband and wife. The friendship we had is over. When I heard those words, my eyes immediately filled with tears. We were never just a husband and wife. We were also best friends, and we had always made every decision together and respected each other's opinion. I never wanted a third person to cause coldness and distance between us. I tried to explain it to him once more. Aaron, I don't mean to stop you or hold back you. I just want you to think carefully and make a decision with your mind, not just your heart. I don't want a day to come where we go out to help someone, only to find ourselves falling into a heavy trial tomorrow that we can barely escape from. But he wasn't willing to listen to a single word from me. He stood up in anger and walked right out the bedroom. Stayed behind watching him walk away in total silence. My heart was churning with an unbearable anxiety and stress. Just earlier this afternoon, Eric had divorced his wife, Sophia, in a sudden fit of rage. Now he wanted Aaron to support him and help him out. But what kind of help was it? He wanted Aaron to marry Sophia for a few days and then divorce her so she could legally remarry Eric. Just the thought of this was enough to shake my entire being to its core. Could any woman bear the humiliation and ease of watching her husband marry another woman, even if it was meant to last for only a few short days? For me, merely thinking about it and imagining it was something completely intolerable. As the daylight began to fade and the evening settled over our suburban neighborhood, I decided to occupy myself with anything just to relieve the heavy tightness in my chest. I left the bedroom and looked around, but Aaron was nowhere to be found. He had vanished. The entire house was wrapped in a heavy, lost silence. Right at that moment, my 6-month-old baby girl Maya began to cry and scream. She had just woken up and was crying bitterly from hunger. I rushed into her nursery, lifted her into my arms, and tenderly kissed her forehead. She was weeping, her face pressed against my shoulder. Holding her tightly, I went back to the kitchen and started preparing a bottle of milk for her. As soon as she drank the milk, she calmed down and rested peacefully. I carefully laid her back down on her crib, then returned to the kitchen to tidy up and finish preparing dinner. My hands were going through the motions of cooking, but my mind was constantly wandering back to Aaron. I felt that he had left the house feeling deeply upset and utterly disappointed in me, and I couldn't stand the thought of him being mad at me. We had been married for 2 years, and in those 2 years, there had never been a moment where we spoke to each other with such cruelty or coldness. I knew Aaron genuinely wanted to help this friend Eric, but I also understood that not every form of assistance is right. Sometimes decision made in the heat of strong emotions can completely derail a person's whole life. It crossed my mind that I urgently needed to consult someone about this matter. Immediately, I thought of Sarah. She was my childhood friend, deeply educated in religion and moral law, and a scholar in her own right. Whenever things felt overwhelming or I faced a dilemma that touched on faith and morality, I always went to her for guidance. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number, but she didn't answer. I called a second time and then tried a third time. Each time the line just rang into it went to voicemail. My distress and anxiety grew deeper. I desperately wanted to talk to her at that exact moment, but perhaps she was busy with something. I set the phone aside, hurried up, and prepared a pan of roasted potatoes. I baked fresh bread and set the dining table, but by the time the clock struck 8 p.m., Erin still hadn't returned home. Maya woke up again, fussing. I lifted her in my arms and began walking with her out into the backyard patio. The summer heat was oppressive indoors, so I thought about lying out folding coats on the patio for the night. Perhaps the open air and night breeze would lift our spirits and give us a little rest. Suddenly, there was a sharp, hard knock at the front door that made my heart leap in alarm. I rushed to open it, and there stood Aaron right in front of me. Exhaustion, anguish, and heavy worry were clearly written all over his face. I forced a gentle smile and said, "Hey, welcome home." He didn't even acknowledge my greeting. He walked inside in absolute silence. His demeanor and behavior were entirely foreign to me. He had never acted like this in his entire life, nor had he ever ignored my welcome. My heart sank and my chest felt suffocated. He walked over down heavily on the bench in the hallway and buried his face in both hands. I approached him and said softly in a quiet voice, "Aaron, what you are doing to me isn't fair, nor is it right. Why are you carrying other people's burden, stressing yourself out and bringing all this trouble over your own head? They have their life and we have ours. We shouldn't interfere in people's personal affairs to this extreme extent." He raised his head and looked at me with a sharp, deep stare. "Chloe, this is exactly what I expected from you. I thought maybe when you sat alone all this time, you would think things through and change your perspective, but unfortunately, you are still standing in the exact same spot." After saying this, he got up and walked straight into the bedroom. My eyes filled with tears. I wiped them away with the edge of my sleeve and turned to the kitchen in silence. My heart felt incredibly heavy and burdened. I tried calling Sarah again, but even this time she didn't pick up her phone. Dear Lord, why isn't she answering her phone today? I muttered to myself in frustration. There was a strange fear and agitation in my heart. I had a gut feeling that a massive, life-altering decision was knocking on our door. I cleared away the remaining dishes and walked into the bedroom, wanting to break the tension and address the stifling room temperature. I said, "Aaron, the heat is really intense tonight. What do you think about sleeping out on the patio tonight?" He looked at me in surprise. "Today you're telling me to sleep outside? You have always hated sleeping outdoors. Where did this sudden change come from?" I paused for a few moments, then offered a faint smile. "I just feel a bit suffocated and anxious and tired tonight." He stared at me for several seconds before clearing his throat and saying in a low voice, Chloe, all I ever ask from you is a bit of trust and understanding. But I don't know what has gotten into you regarding my friend Eric. He is in a massive crisis. He had his wife are sitting in separate rooms right now, devastated. They truly love each other and can't live without one another. And he is deeply remorseful and regretting his mistake. I listened to him in silence as he continued. If I don't help and stand by him right now, then what is the point of friendship? When else is it supposed to matter? I moved closer and sat down right beside him. Aaron, I have no objection to your friendship, I said with the utmost gentleness. But before we take a massive step like this, we must verify and investigate this properly. Not everything people do out of desperation is right, nor is it permitted under moral and religious law. When he heard that, he fell silent and didn't utter another word. But his silence made it clear that he was still stubbornly holding onto his position and set on his decision. As for me, the anxiety and knot in my stomach only grew bigger. Aaron stayed quiet for a few moments, then looked at me. His expression showed me that he clearly understood what I was feeling, but the distress and light of his friend were weighing heavily on his mind and keeping him from resting. Chloe, what exactly are you afraid of? He asked in a calm, steady tone. I took a deep, slow breath and replied, I'm afraid of us becoming a part of a terrible mistake that we will regret for the rest of our life. He responded immediately. What is wrong about it? I'm not going to stay married to this woman forever. It's literally a matter of a few days, a temporary arrangement. Then I divorce her, Eric remarries her, and their love settled back down and their home is restored. I looked directly into his eyes and asked, but have you ever considered for a second whether this whole method itself might be completely wrong and forbidden? He looked at me, astonished and bewildered. What do you mean? I mean we ought to consult a scholar or minister first, I explained. We shouldn't make a life-altering choice just because of what people urge us to do. He sat in silence for a while, then said, all right, I'll give you 2 days grace period to look into it. But if you don't find anything proving it's wrong or forbidden, then I am going to stand by my friend and help him. My heart felt a wave of relief and a small spark of hope eased my worry. At least he hadn't made a hasty, irreversible decision right then and there. It was late into the night. I brought Maya in from the patio into the bedroom. Aaron dropped the idea of sleeping outside, switched on the air conditioner, and within minutes both he and Maya were fast asleep. Sleep was far from my eyes. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, then looking over at Aaron's calm, peaceful face. My heart kept whispering, if this marriage actually happened, our life might never return to the way it was. Catch between these distressing thoughts and scenarios, I didn't even realize when morning broke. I woke up to the sound of Maya crying. She was irritable and uncomfortable from hunger. I picked her up and carried her to the kitchen and fed her a bottle. She drank but still seemed restless. I smiled down at her, but inside I felt exhausted and broken. The house chores, the baby's needs, and now this sudden crisis. It felt as though life had abruptly grown complex, heavy, and difficult. That morning, Aaron left for work without eating breakfast or tasting a single bite. As he walked out the door, he only said few words. I am heading over to Eric's house first, and after that, I'll go to the office. I couldn't stop him or turn him back. As soon as I finished the essential morning chores, I locked the front door, picked up Maya, and headed straight to Sarah's house. Her house wasn't far, so I arrived within a few minutes. When the door opened, Sarah saw me and smiled, but her face looked pale and visibly fried. I asked her immediately with concern, Sarah, is everything okay? You don't look well at all. She let me out a soft smile and said, I have had a high fever for the last few days, and a severe migraine kept me bedridden today, but I felt a bit better just now and managed to get up. My heart went out to her. She had been married for 4 years and hadn't been blessed with children yet, and her husband worked in another city, so she spent most of her time living alone. I thought to myself how easy it is for someone to look at another person's life and envy them. Yet every home carries its own hidden struggle and test. After ensuring she was okay, I dove straight into the main reason for my visit. Sarah, I came today to ask for your counsel and guidance on a very serious issue. She turned to me and gave me her full undivided attention. Tell me what's going on. I explained the entire story from start to finish. I told her how Eric had lost his temper and discovered his wife Sophia. Now he deeply regretted it now, and how he was now begging Aaron to marry Sophia for a few days so he could legally remarry her. The moment I finished speaking, Sarah gasped in dismay. Shock and deep disapproval were clear on her face. Chloe, this is a grave and terrible matter, Sarah said earnestly. To prearrange and plan a marriage solely with the intention of getting a quick divorce just to make her lawful for her ex-husband is completely invalid and wrong. Religious and moral law does not permit or validate such a staged marriage. I listened in silence as she continued. If a woman happens to marry another man in a genuine, normal marriage, and then for genuine reason that marriage fails and ends in the divorce, then after the waiting period she can lawfully return to her husband. But to make a prior agreement that he will divorce her after a few days is entirely unlawful and unacceptable. I felt a massive weight lift off my chest. My instinct had been right all along. Something about this felt fundamentally wrong and irrational. But Aaron isn't listening to anyone. I said in a worried, anxious tone. He keeps saying he can't abandon his best friend in his time of need. Sarah replied gently and calmly. Talk to him with patience, warm and grace, not with anger or hostility. A soft, reasoned voice accomplishes what harshness never can. I nodded, but fear still lingered in my heart. I knew Aaron was willing to go to great length for his friend, and convincing him to back down would not be easy. The following morning was Sunday. It was around 9 a.m. when there was a knock out our front door. Since Aaron didn't have work that day, he was home. The moment the knock sounded, he put on his shoes and went to answer it. I was in the kitchen preparing tea. The kitchen window overlooked part of the front driveway and porch. I glanced outside and was shocked to see Eric and his ex-wife Sophia standing at the store together. Aaron invited them inside. They walked into the living room and sat down in complete silence. Deep anguish and helplessness were clearly written on their faces. I could quickly brew 4 cups of tea, arranged some cookies and crackers on a tray, and brought it into the living room. I sat across from Sophia. I had met her a few times before. She was gentle, sweet, and soft-spoken woman. We had even attended their wedding just a few months ago. They had only been married for a short time, yet it felt as though years of happiness had shattered into pieces in a single moment. I set the tea down in front of everyone, but no one reaches out to take a cup. Finally, Aaron picked up a cup and handed it to Eric. Eric drank something. Don't break down like this. Eric looked the cup reluctantly, and his hand trembling slightly. I handed the second cup to Sophia. As she took it, a single tear fell from her eyes onto her lap. She kept her head bowed, staring at the floor as an uncomfortable silence settled over the room. After a few moments, Eric spoke in a low, quiet voice. Chloe, we came to you because you are our only hope. We feel you are the only person who can convince Aaron and help us. I lowered my eyes and looked down, realizing Aaron had already told them everything about our conversation. Then Sophia spoke, her voice trembling with emotion. Chloe, I beg you, please help us. We are both ashamed and deeply remorseful for our mistake. If only we could turn back time and undo that awful day. As she spoke, her voice cracked and tears began streaming down her cheeks uncontrollably. Seeing her like that broke my heart. I reached out and took her hands in mine to comfort her. Sitting before me were two people consumed by regret, bearing these painful consequences of a reckless mistake. I felt their pain, but inside me a war was raging. On one side was their desperation, on the other was my own marriage, my home, and the deep fear of doing something fundamentally wrong. I remained quiet. Aaron kept looking at me with unspoken question, waiting for my response, but I had no answer to give at the moment. My heart was telling me one thing, my mind another, and the silence in the room grew heavier with every passing second. Finally, I took a deep breath and said softly, I don't want us to make a rush decision about something so serious. This is a delicate matter. and we must follow a path that leaves no room for shame or regret later on. Hearing this, everyone falls silent. Eric hung his heart, Sophia wiped her tears, and Aaron didn't say a word. I knew the issue wasn't resolved yet. In fact, the real test was just beginning. I silently prayed in my heart that God would guide us all towards a path of dignity, wisdom, and honor, protecting every home from ruin and saving us from choices we would regret for the rest of our lives. After that day, we all decided to rely on reason and proper guidance rather than acting purely on emotion. The very next day, Aaron, Eric, and Sophia went to meet with a trusted, respected religious scholar, while I stayed home with Maya, waiting for their return. Every passing minute heightened my anxiety. I kept looking out the window and checking the clock. My mind floated with endless questions. With every thought, a single prayer rose from my heart that God would grant everyone a path of dignity and grace, reserving their honor and homes. Toward the evening, when Aaron returned home, the heavy tension on his face was gone. He sat down across from me in silence, and as I looked at him, I could feel that a massive weight had been lifted from his chest. He spoke in a soft, quiet voice. Chloe, you were right. Sometimes, in a moment of raw emotion, we try to take what looks like an easy way out, but in reality, it only brings more trouble and complexity. I listened quietly as he explained everything. He told me how the scholar had truly explained that anger is a person's greatest enemy, and that decision made in anger can ruin multiple lives in an instant. He shared how Eric had broken down in tears out of intense remorse and how Sophia's eyes were filled with deep regret and shame. That day, for the first time, I realized that true courage isn't about stubbornly persisting in the error. It's about having the humility to admit when you are wrong. Several weeks passed. Eric began the hard work of piecing his life back together. He started attending counseling and anger management therapy to gain control over his temper. Sophia, staying with her parents, focused on her higher education and studies. Though their paths ultimately diverged and they went their separate ways, there was no hatred or bitterness between them, only a mature understanding and acceptance of their mistake. On our end, the love and warmth between Aaron and me returned, stronger and deeper than before. One evening, Aaron took my hand and said softly, "If you hadn't stood firm that day, I might have made the biggest mistake of my entire life." Tears well up in my eyes as I listened to him. Relationship and homes are built on trust and patience, Aaron, not on hasty impulses. A gentle, peaceful smile passed between us. A quiet moment of comfort far deeper than anything we had felt before. Time waits for no one. A few months later, our life had returned to its sweet, peaceful rhythm. Maya was now learning to walk. Her innocent laughter filled the house with joy. Sometimes she would hold onto Aaron's finger, taking shaky steps, and other times she would lose her balance and tumble safely into my lap. Every time I look at her, I was reminded that a child's pure smile can make a person forget all their pain and worry. One night, we were all sitting out on the patio. A cool, gentle breeze was blowing. Aaron was holding Maya as she giggled softly. I looked up at the night sky and silently offered a prayer of gratitude in my heart. Life had taught me a profound lesson. After every hardship comes ease. Provide one maintain patience, composure, and seeks proper guidance during difficult times in time. Eric decided to move forward and start fresh with his life. Sophia, too, rebuilt her life with strength and dignity. Both had learned valuable lessons from their past errors and wished each other nothing but peace and good fortune. Aaron became much more grounded, thoughtful, and mature now. Before making any major decision, he always comes to consult me and deeply values my perspective. One evening, he looked at me with a warm smile and said, "Chloe, you're not just my wife, you're my absolute best friend." I smiled back softly and replied, "And true friends are the ones who pull each other back from the wrong path when it matters the most." He squeezed my hand tightly. In that moment, I realized that the true love isn't just about loving each other, it's about guiding each other toward what is right and lighting the way forward. I held Maya close to my heart, looked over at Aaron, and prayed quietly, "Lord, keep her home forever filled with love, trust, patience, and blessings, and protect us from decisions made in moment of blind emotion that could lead to a lifetime of regret." Amen.